What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! We're back again today for another game review. Today I'm very excited to check out The King's Armory from Gatekeeper Games. This is for 1 to 7 players, ages 13 and plus. It'll take you about 3 hours to play. Wowza! And The King's Armory is a completely cooperative tower defense board game. You don't know what tower defense is? Well, I'll explain a little bit more in the video. But in The King's Armory, you're going to be taking control of different fantasy characters, trying to fight onslaughts and waves of monsters. But along the way, you are going to be able to even the odds as you upgrade your equipment, buy special armory items, get reinforcement, hire different guys to get onto the field and work with your heroes and upgrade those guys in the hopes that you can survive, which you probably won't do. It is an incredibly ambitious game that tries to be everything for everybody, but it doesn't successfully do that. Let's open it up, check it out. Alright then, we're going to check out what you're going to get inside of The King's Armory from Gatekeeper Games. Now, I do want to start off by saying this is an epic game. There is a lot going on in this game, so I'm by no means going to be able to explain every nuance of the game. So I'm going to try and just give you a feel for how the game plays, show you all the components, so you can see if it might be for you. So first and foremost, we have a handy-dandy rule booklet. It is 62 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, all the good stuff you want to see in a rule booklet. And if this rule booklet were bad, this would kill this game. Immediately kill it, dead to rights. But luckily, this is a very well done rule booklet. It goes smoothly and just a very top-notch rule booklet. Big thumbs up on that. So, as you can see, we have a lot of stuff going on here. So I'm going to go over the components, but first I'm going to teach you how the game is played. I'm going to tell you how the game is played. This is a completely cooperative game in which you are going to be fighting off hordes of monsters. This is what's called a tower defense game. In a typical tower defense game, they're mostly for video games, you are going to have a horde of monsters coming at you, and you're going to kill them, and then you're going to set up your defense and upgrade stuff and hire people to help you out to kill more monsters. And then another wave is going to come at you, but there's going to be more monsters in that second wave. And then you're going to boom, kill them, heal up, upgrade, do the same thing, and then another more strong wave of monsters is going to come at you. Once again, you're going to continue to upgrade, get more equipment, hire people who are going to help you out, upgrade those said people, until you get to the 7th wave, which is going to be just an onslaught of monsters, and then a big bad boss who will most likely crush you. Just full disclaimer, I have yet to actually beat one of the bosses in the full game mode. This is a pretty difficult game, especially if you have someone who's not willing to work with everyone else as much as you would like them to, or if you think they're making suspect decisions. But continuing onward, let's go over all the components. So first, you're going to have castles. These are a really nice touch, but unfortunately, these are the weakest component in the game. You're going to fold these up, and they will, boom, turn into these little siege towers that you're going to have. You're going to set these all around the board, and these are where you're going to be setting up defense. Now, you don't have to be in the tower throughout the whole game, but obviously you're going to want your archers to be in those because it's going to increase their range by a little bit, and you're going to be able to spawn from there and do some other cool things with these. But as you can see, they are three-dimensional, and they look really cool once you get them onto the board. I'll talk more about those in the pros and cons, though. Continuing on with just the components, we're going to get tons of hit points. There are just boatloads of these. They're going to come in increments of 10s, 1s, and 5s, and these are how you're going to be keeping track of all the hit points of all the monsters, how you're going to keep keeping track of the hit points of the gate, because that is actually how the monsters win the game, and I'll tell you that in a second, and also for your heroes. So in this game, as I mentioned, it's a tower defense game. You're going to be killing tons of monsters, an onslaught of monsters that are going to be coming at you. Why are they coming at you? Well, they're going to try and get right down here to your gates. If they knock down your gates, which has 20 hit points, they're going to go into your armory, steal all your goodies, and then, well, you lose the game. So continuing on with components, let's take a look at your heroes. And you're going to have numerous different heroes. The game plays 1 to 7 players. And they're all going to have their own unique special abilities and actions. Let's take a look at this one right here. So this is Ember. And as you can tell, she is focused on bow and arrow. She's going to have 14 hit points, or health points as I like to call them. She's going to have 4 actions per turn, which is pretty dang good. She's going to have a heal rate of 3, so that means at the end of every wave she's going to be able to heal 3. A move rate of 6, so that's how many spaces she's going to be moved. She can't tank anyone, unfortunately, which means she can't make them stop in their tracks and focus on her. She has a very high dodge of 16, so she's going to be dodging a lot of things. And then she has low damage resistance with 0 melee and 0 supernatural, but she can dodge a ranged 1. She also has a special wolf with her, which will give her a special action over here. Now, the special actions over here are very similar to the other ones, where they have a number of action points they're going to take. You have your hit roll right there, your range, all that good stuff. Down here, you're going to have her attacks, and as you can see, she's got the single shot, the volley of arrows, which is kind of be like an area of effect kind of thing, and then a called shot head, which is going to do a lot of damage. You got your typical stuff down here. It's all dice roll in combat, but there's also crit hits because you're going to be rolling a 20-sided die when you're attacking people. But as you can see, they all have various different special abilities. We've got Valkor, who's going to be your tank. He can tank up to 3 people. He also has a really cool special ability where there are some monsters that are untankable, like they can't be stopped. However, if he uses his entire turn, all 3 of his actions, he can tank somebody. But all the different characters are going to play drastically different, which is one cool thing. So moving onward, we're going to have our hirelings, and these are these guys right here. Because as I mentioned, this is a tower defense game. In between waves, you're going to be able to get money and then hire different people to help you out. So you might have a cleric who might be healing you. So he's essentially going to be another healer on the battlefield. A foot soldier who's just going to be stomping people. The archer, which is one of my personal favorites, because you can get a couple of these in a tower, and they can just pew, 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 just serve as a really nice way to whittle things down before they get close to you. But what's really cool about this is they're going to start at a level 1 when you first hire them. You're going to have to pay 200 gold, for instance, to get this cleric. But then, during another phase, you'll be able to upgrade him, and he's going to get better abilities. Then upgrade him again, and he'll get better abilities. So it's just like your hero, where your hero is going to be gaining equipment. Your hireables will gain special abilities as they level up. So that's really kind of cool. They'll get stronger. So, continuing onward, we have right here what is our wave track. Because as I mentioned, you're going to be going through 7 different waves. This is going to tell you how many. You're going to look over here and see how many heroes you have, and it'll tell you how many gold you get at the end of the round, how many monsters you're going to spawn, all sorts of good stuff. This is just something that's going to be very, very crucial when you're learning the game, and the rule booklet does a very good job of explaining how that's going to work. So what else have we missed? So we talked about the boss. There's going to be a special boss that will come out at the end of round 7. As you can see, there are 7 different bosses here, and they all are different. They all are very difficult, and they're much like a hero, where they have all their their attack and their special abilities, any special conditions, whole bunch of stuff like that. Coming over here to these counters, we have more and more monsters, and as you can see, they're numbered 1 through 5. You never know exactly which kind of monsters are going to spawn, which is a unique thing about this game. Because when you spawn monsters, they're going to come out here, and then they're going to be going down there. But you don't know which side they're going to be going down, and you don't know which kind of monsters are going to be going down, because it's all in that little sheet I just showed you. But you're going to roll a die, and if you roll lower numbers, then little level 1 monsters will come out, and they're actually kind of easy to defeat. However, you might get unlucky, and level 5 monsters will spawn out, and they're big and bad and mean, and they will just beat the living heck out of you, or run super fast to your gate, or fly, or do all sorts of really cool special abilities. Now, you looked at here, and it looked like it was incredibly daunting. And yes, it is when you first get this. You're like, what is all this stuff? Luckily, they have these little player aid cards, which will show you exactly what all of those do. It's a little bit fidgety, but still, I couldn't think of a better way you could possibly do it in a board game. And they actually have tons of information on all of these. Likewise, you're never going to know exactly which boss you're going to face because they are all random right there. So those are going to be your boss tokens. Moving on to more tokens, you're going to have your heroes and hirelings tokens. And as I mentioned, you can hire different people you put on the board, so you'll grab them out here. So this would be a level 1, and I think this is a foot soldier, and when you upgrade him, he'll get upgraded. But he will move around the board just like anybody else, killing people, killing monsters, tanking, doing all sorts of good stuff like that. Let's see, any more tokens over here? Yes, we have our hero tokens over here. Let me see if I can find a hero token real quick. Your hero tokens, there we go. No, that's not one. But you're going to have hero tokens that will look much the same. Now, I do want to mention that when I played the game, he was nice enough to send some of these miniatures that you can purchase, which look absolutely freaking gorgeous, and they really increased the thematic value of the game because I mean you got like this guy just standing up here and he's all like, yeah, it's awesome, really cool. So if it's something that might be interested in you, if this game looks like it's interested in you, be sure to check it out. So I think I've gone over pretty much all the components. We got a couple player round order cheat cards right here, which will be kind of helpful when you're first starting the game. Oh, cards, and more cards, because there are going to be some cards that you're going to be dealing with. There's 4 kinds of cards in the game. You're going to have rewards, armory cards, equipment cards, and reinforcement cards. When you first start the game, each player is going to get 2 pieces of equipment. And the equipment is a really interesting aspect of this game because when you first get it, you don't actually unlock it. So let's just say you have this tower shield when you first get it. You don't actually have the tower shield. It's just something that you can unlock eventually by spending some of your gold rewards, which is a nice segue to these cards right here, which you will shuffle up and draw randomly once you defeat a round. So as you can see, you might get a good one like 150, or you might get the 50 and go wah, 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 wah. So you never know exactly how much money you're going to get. There's a lot of randomness in this game, which might be a turn on to some people or not, but I'll talk more about that in the pros and the cons. Now, I really like the equipment because it's really interesting. You can completely trade it with other people because it is a completely cooperative game, but there's some tough decisions to make with the equipment, but I guess I'll talk more about it in the pros and the cons because we're trying to keep this brisk and fast. So moving onward, we got reinforcements, which will normally be one-time events you can purchase, and they'll normally give you like a really good special ability that'll help you out for a short burst. Kind of think of it as like, well, a reinforcement coming in to help you out. Last, you have the Armory cards, which are very, very expensive, but normally they will give you a really super good special ability because you've got gnomes working in the castle, and this one is going to help you heal up. My favorite one that actually saved us was the teleport chamber, so when people get to your gate, they will just bloop, teleport back, which will give you more time to fight them. These are really expensive, but they're definitely worth purchasing. It's a delicate balancing act of when do you want to hire people, when do you want to get something out of the armory, when do you want to unlock equipment. Lots of stuff going on. So I think I've gone over just about all the components and a little bit of how the gameplay works. Hopefully you figured out what's going on here. I would recommend Rondo's run-through of it. He gets more in-depth into the nuts and bolts. It's a much lengthier video. But that, in a crazy jumbled nutshell, is how you play the King's Armory. Holy moly, almost forgot one thing, which is going to be the dice, because everything in this game is going to resolve around dice. When you attack, when you spawn monsters, and as you can tell, the dice are actually one of the stars of the show. They are incredibly nice. They're called Halfsies dice. The company that makes these actually makes these dice, Gatekeeper Games, and they are very, very nice dice that actually kind of fit the color of your hero, which is a really cool, nice addition. But that's just something else I wanted to mention about the components, because they are really, really nice components. But that is, in a nutshell, how the game's played. Alright, then the King's Armory from Gatekeeper Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the cons side, the game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. It is completely cooperative, which is going to be a turn-off to some people. Also, the game can definitely, I could see it having an alpha gamer problem, because when you get money to spend, that money is everybody's money. It's community money, which means if you have an alpha gamer, they might kind of take control of that money and do exactly what they think is for the best interest of the team. So you need to kind of watch out for that. Also, tons and tons and tons of randomness and dice rolling in this game, which is going to be a turnoff to some people. Now, granted, there's a lot of stuff you can do to offset the randomness and the dice rolling, but if you're spawning monsters and it's just fives, level 5 monsters, it's going to be a more difficult game than if you spawn level 1 monsters, and there's nothing really you can do about that. Also, the game can have a spreadsheetish feel, which is going to be a turn-off to some people, especially when you're looking at that big sheet that shows you exactly how you spawn monsters and how many you got to do and how much gold you get and all that sort of stuff. So when you're first starting the game, it is going to be a little bit daunting. Another thing, when you spawn monsters, it's fidgety. There's no way around it. For me personally, 5, 6, 7 games in, I still felt like it was a little bit fidgety. And there are some fidgety things in this game. But that being said, there's tons and tons of stuff in this game. This is an incredibly ambitious game. Moving on to the components. I'm going to glow and rave and just tell you how awesome the components are. So I'm going to start off by telling you the one negative component in this game, which are these siege towers, which look really freaking cool. And aesthetically, they absolutely bump up the theme of the game for me personally, and I think they're awesome. But the problem is they're constructed in the same way that like a Burger King hat is, the Burger King crown, where you kind of got to lock it in there. And I worry about how 6, 7, 8 games down the road, if you're deconstructing these and then constructing them, how they're going to hold up, and eventually these things might, just get taped together. Me personally, what I did instead of doing that was that I I constructed them, and then I set them off to the side, and then whenever I play the game, I just got them out because instead of putting them back in the box, because they won't fit back in the box constructed, because they are really, really big. But so that's what I got on the cons. Any more cons I have about this game? Oh, the rule booklet is huge, and it's daunting when you first look at it. 62 pages, you're like, oh my god. And yeah, this is absolutely one of those rule booklets that you want to read before you play the game. You don't want to sit down with people and say, all right, let's figure out how to play the King's Armory, because you're going to have a lot of bored people on their phone very, very quickly. Read this before people get to the table. Any more cons? Any more cons? Any more cons? Oh, one more con. The game can be incredibly lengthy and epic in its full version, which is going to be a turn off for some people. Some people just don't want to play a 3 to 4 hour game, so take that for what you will. Now, you can scale the game down, so you just play waves, say 4, 5, 6, or 7, or whatever. But if you do that, then you're going to lose a little bit of that epic feeling and that customization, because you're going to be able to completely customize your board if you play the epic game. And that's what I got on the con. So let's get on to the pros of the King's Armory. Wow. This is, without a doubt, one of the most ambitious games I have ever played. I got the same sensation I got when I played Twilight Imperium and Twilight Struggle with this game, where it's like, wow, they had such a grandiose vision for this game, and for the most part, they really knocked it out of the park. I will go ahead and label this. For some people, this is going to be their favorite game of all time, and this is a masterpiece. It really is, at least in my personal opinion. And I'll tell you why. There's a lot of different reasons why. First and foremost, component-wise, everything is really nice component-wise. Aside from this, which is a little bit flimsy, but everything else is really super nice component-wise, and I like how everything works. I like how the hit point system works, how you put them underneath the monster, and then you move it along with it, and maybe you do 2 damage to a monster, so then you just bloop, bloop, take off the 2 hit points. I feel like it's a very nice, refined way to do things. The rule booklet is very, very well done. This could have completely killed the game, but luckily, it's actually really easy to read, and it just feels like it was done right. I imagine this took a long time to construct this rule booklet, and it shows. Very well done rule booklet. I like the modular board. I really like just how different each game you play of this feels different. Just because you play as different heroes, you have different equipment, different guys you'll hire, different monsters will spawn, different bosses will spawn, different placement of the sieges, different maps. Everything is going to be different each time you play that, and I like that an awful lot. Another thing I like is how different the characters are. Each time you play with a different character, it is going to be a different experience. Are you the archer? Are you the tank? Are you meleeing? Are you healing? Just each one feels drastically different. It feels like everyone has their own, but still equally important job, and I like that an awful lot. I love how the hireling system works. I love hiring these guys. And let's just get to that. My favorite aspect of this game is customizing is after the monster. Now, fighting monsters is fun. The only non-fun thing in this game is spawning all the monsters. But once all the monsters start moving and you're fighting them, that is fun. And you're strategizing together, trying to figure out the best way to accomplish your goal. I like that. I like the completely cooperative nature of this game. Now, my favorite aspect of this game, though, and it's not even close, and I love how it works, and I'm beaming right now. It's just like, yeah. I love when you get your money, and you're like, all right, guys, how do we spend our money? Because there is so much stuff to spend your money on. Especially if you have, a 5, 6, 7 player game, you're going to have tons of equipment out there, and you have to decide, all right, guys, we can't afford to unlock too many of these, so which ones are the most important? And then you also have to decide who's going to get which equipment. I like that aspect of the game. A perfect example would be the bow and arrow. So your initial thought is like, yeah, let's give it to the guy with the bow and arrow. It's going to make his shots even stronger, his range, he's just going to be super awesome with the bow and arrow. But then you might be like, I kind of want to give that to somebody who doesn't have a long-range attack, because that completely opens up their offense and their arsenal. And I like those decisions, because a lot of the equipment cards will say, oh, if it's given to a specific character, it gives them a special ability or special bonus. And I like that an awful lot. But at the same time, it's still incredibly useful on different characters. I also felt like a lot of the equipment was very well balanced. Everything felt like it had its place in this game. And then also the Armory cards, like, they're super powerful and useful, and same with the reinforcements, but they're more expensive, and you're like, I don't know if I want to spend the money. I'd rather do a hireling and, upgrade, get a piece of equipment. And I like how the hirelings work as well. You really get attached to those guys, and if they die, you're like, no, true, because you spent so much gold on them, and I like it an awful lot. I mean, I could just go on and on about this game. This game is an incredibly ambitious, epic game that lives up to its billing. If you were in the market for an epic game, pull the trigger on this game. If you are not in the market for an epic game, absolutely try this game out. This is a game like Twilight Imperium, where I think every gamer should try it at least once, just because it is such an epic media encounter. Now, you may want to wear your Snuggie because you're in for a long day, especially if there's a lot of new people learning the rule booklet. But the King's Armory, for my money, is an absolutely outstanding game that you need to check out. One of my top games of 2015. That is the King's Armory from Gatekeeper Games. Definitely one to look for. So, if you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below, and in the comments below, let me know, do you like generic fantasy themes? Now, when I first got into this game, I thought it was just going to be another generic fantasy theme, but just with all the crazy different characters and special abilities and how cool the board looks in the siege towers, it kind of raised it up a little bit. And how lengthy the game is, we kind of started to role play a little bit. But you personally, do you mind a generic fantasy theme, or would you rather have a generic space theme, or do you not even really care? For me personally, you know, if I'm going to get a generic pasted-on theme, fantasy is one of the last ones I'd rather have. I'd rather have a cool space theme where I can look at the artwork and, you know, create it in my own head. Then again, I have a weird head. It's really large and just weird stuff comes in it. I got ADHD. Oh, hey, is that a squirrel? Oh, is that a popsicle? Anywho, thanks for your time, YouTube.
That was the review for the King's Armory. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bauer's Game Corner.